Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. We are here today with a very special and hilarious guest, Amy Daughters. Hey Amy, how you doing?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. I am in hot Florida, and I believe you are in hotter Texas, right?
That's right. It's closest to the surface of the sun, Houston, Texas.
Well, JC is in upstate New York, but I understand that is on fire as well right now.
Yeah, we're pretty close to the North Pole. I mean, you go to the end of the street, you see Canada. I feel like Sarah Palin sometimes, but let me tell you, it is almost like I am near the center of the sun. It's a real feel of 101 degrees outside today. You definitely see the polar bears swimming away.
Wow.
For our audience, we are recording this late June, and so we're about 2 months behind on the live edition. And so hopefully we will still be here when this comes out live. Hey, Amy, so I hear that you are a keynote speaker, letter writer, which I really want to talk about that today, a sports journalist too. What the heck? And an award-winning author of 2 books. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my life journey was not what I expected at all, but wow, it's been fun.
Well, we want to talk to you, or have you talk to us and educate us actually on the importance of connection in the workplace and our personal lives too, and how handwritten letters will help. So talk to us a little bit about your journey.
Right. I like to tell the story in the context I was just minding my own business, because I was doing life just like everyone else. And I got on Facebook one day and looked up an old friend who I'd met at a summer camp, and ding, there she is. I hadn't spoken to her, done anything with her in 30 years. And I friend request her because it means nothing. This is the internet. And she accepts. And so then I go and do whatever all the rest of us do, and I lightly stalk. I get in there and look at her hairstyle and realize she overachieved in children. She has 5 children, 4 girls, 1 son. So she got it done. The rest of us doing amateur hour over here. And but right away, I realized that my old friend Dana, her son is at St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee. Her only son, her youngest child, is fighting cancer. And right away, like as a human being, as a person, I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And so I start following along the story, like totally in the background, like not hitting love, not saying anything. But she's very open and shares this journey she's on, and she's funny. And the only thing I really remember about Dana is she had a huge personality. Like, we thought we were hilarious, but that's all I really remember. Like, we were cracking each other up and thought we were great. And so here's 30 years apart, and then we get connected. So I watched this journey play out. Her son's name is Parker. He ends up going back home to Louisiana. Then he relapses. So that goes to the back of my, back burner of my mind. Then he relapses. And when they go back to St. Jude, she shares about that. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, now I'm a freelance writer and a sports journalist at the time. I've just written my first book, but I have not written anybody a letter in 30 years. And I haven't spoke to her in 30 years. And I crazily, lightning struck me one day. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start writing these 2 people that are strangers letters at the Ronald McDonald House in Memphis. It just came over me like it was just pure inspiration. I was like, I'm going to do it. So the next morning I got up and I start sending these people letters. And this is crazy. Each step of this story is so crazy, because who writes somebody a letter who they've never even talked to in 30 years? And so I just started writing them. Dear Dana and Parker, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. I just felt so invested in this idea. And so I write them, the 2 of them together, for about 8 weeks, these handwritten letters. I don't hear anything back from them. And then unthinkably, Parker passes away at only 15 years old.
Wow.
And so I'm like, what do I do? And why would I even think I needed to do anything? Because again, guys, I'm this weird girl from 1986 with bad hair. That's all I am in the story. And so I do the next nutso thing, because I still feel like, I'm like, what do I do? And I felt so committed to the story. I was like, well, I'm just going to keep writing her. So I stalk her husband's work address and I start sending the letters there, because why not? And eventually she sends me her home address. And eventually this girl starts writing me back. And we spent 2 years sharing everything through the mail, no text, no emails. And it was such a profoundly moving experience, the pace of letter writing, the sharing, the trust we developed, the absolute intimacy of this relationship with this girl who I didn't even know what town she lived in Louisiana. Like, she's a Facebook friend. Like, why would I even know that in a million years? It was so moving that finally, after about 8 months of writing her, I sat back and I was like, guys, if I can have this kind of experience with this one woman, like, what else is out there in this list of 500 crazy people? So I printed out stationery. I put everybody's names in a box, and it took me 18 months. And I wrote 600 handwritten letters to every one of my Facebook friends.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
And, it blew up my life because there were so many lessons that I wrote a freaking book about it. But now with this speech, I'm on this mission to talk about letter writing. And I have so much I could say about it. It's in the book, but it has so many applications. And yes, personally, it has changed my life. But I've realized in speaking to different podcasts and different groups, it is applicable, of course, personally, like I said, but from a business standpoint, I know y'all talk about human resources, but upward in an organization, downward, side to side. This is something, it is a power that can be harnessed that I had absolutely zero idea how powerful something this simple can be in a human relationship of any context.
That's amazing. And that book is called Dear Dana?
Yes, Dear Dana, that time I went crazy and wrote all 580 of my Facebook friends a letter.
That is amazing.
The longest subtitle in publishing. Yeah.
We have so much more to share with our listeners, and we're going to wrap up this episode and move on. So thanks for listening to episode 1 of our 5-part series. And just want to let everybody know that this is going to be a humorous and moving next 4 sessions. And in the future, additionally, which has nothing to do with the topic today, but I wanted to let you know, if you are interested in an upcoming webinar, we have an amazing one at Aurora Training Advantage called Employer Obligations for Service Animals, Emotional Support, and Companion Animals. Simply go to auroratrainingadvantage.com/webinars to discover all webinar options. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for episode 205.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.